and welcome to Japanese Craft Beer Reviews. Today I am here with Al in Japan. How you doing, Al?
Hey, good to be here. Hi, thanks for having me on.
Great. And Al and I are going to be reviewing this beer today. What is this beer, Alan?
It is both hands, as you can see from the picture, and it's a collaboration, I guess, with Nara and Kyoto Brewing and with a coffee company called COYOTE, which you know more about than I do.
Yeah. So it is again a collaboration between two breweries, which then the brewers know each other very well. Kyoto Brewing and Nara Brewing. In fact, the head brewer at Nara Brewing worked at Kyoto Brewing for a couple of years, just when Kyoto Brewing got started. When did Kyoto Brewing start? It was 2015, and they quickly rose to become one of the finest craft beer
15.
brewers in the entire nation. And they've been undergoing some changes recently. They lost their head brewer and have hired a new one, and they're kind of moving in different directions in terms of uh, their kinds of beer they make, the way they're making the beer, and all kinds of things. And Nara Brewing started in
Hmm.
2017. The head brewer, uh, again, worked at Kyoto Brewing, and they are located just south of the city of Nara. There's a very large Eon Mall there, and you can stop by their tap room and try out a number of their beers. So they collaborated on two beers, actually. This one called Both Hands, and then this one, which is called Dream of Two Cities, and Nito Monogatari, which is exactly the title of Charles Dickens' famous novel, A Tale of Two Cities. And so what they did is they made similar types of beer, but with slightly different ingredients. They both have coffee in them, and the Nara Brewing Company asked for Kyoto Brewing's coffee recommendation, and they recommended COYOTE coffee in Kyoto. And Nara Brewing recommended the coffee for Kyoto Brewing's collaboration beer. So two beers, two different types of coffee. In fact, I was at COYOTE Coffee not long ago. They have three locations in the city of Kyoto. They haven't been
Hmm.
around that long, I think, but the coffee is very, very good. So, um, so
Hmm.
this beer is called a Golden Stout, and apparently not a Bruins beer. It's called a Golden Stout, and it was inspired by a beer called White Madness, made by Kyoto Brewing, and that was a white stout. And how do we get a white stout? Well, instead of using the roasted malts to provide the dark color, they use coffee and cacao nibs to provide that as well. And the ingredients, Al, want to tell us about the ingredients in this beer?
Yes. So the malts are Maris Otter and Karamunic Type 3.
Hmm.
And then the hops, Willamette and Merkur. Interesting, some other added ingredients. You mentioned the coffee and the cacao nibs. There is flaked oats, flaked wheat, and lactose is also
Hmm.
included.
Hmm.
So the flaking the grains should add a nice head to the beer. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a nitro beer, and they have the nitro pouring instructions right here, which are basically shake it up and get a big glass and give it a hard downward pour to get that kind of, if you've had Guinness in a bar, you know what it is. The foam seems to be floating downwards for a while instead of upwards. And we're not going to do that because we don't have that kind of class, and I'm worried about making a mess right here. But in any case, 6% alcohol by volume and 10 international bittering units. I should mention this beer style is not really a technically not a recognized beer style, but something quite unique,
Hmm.
and it should be interesting to try. I should also mention Nara Brewing
Yeah.
is well known for their interesting label art. You go on their website, you will
Yeah.
see all kinds of unusual and very creative label art designs, and also interesting names of the beers as well. Okay, so shall we get
Yeah.
going on this
They
one?
stand out on the shelves really well. So,
Yeah, they really, really do. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. I'm worried.
okay. So I forgot to shake it. There we go.
You don't want to shake.
Got
I don't think you want
too
to shake
excited.
it.
Okay. Well, I didn't. So,
Okay. And actually, on the brewing, the website for Nara said that this is their first ever collaboration with Kyoto Brewing. I kind of find that hard to believe. I don't know. Okay, so
the
a
first, really?
I don't think so, but in any case, okay, so
No,
this
it couldn't, I wouldn't think so. I think this,
I wouldn't think so either. Yeah. So a white or a golden stout, and it
yeah,
is very, very golden. Hmm?
yeah, just
Yeah.
a little bit of color, I guess, from that coffee and the cacao nibs.
Yeah, yeah. And a kind of light, very, very light tan head,
Ooh,
creamy head. Mhm. The coffee is quite apparent right
ooh,
away.
yeah.
Coffee beers are
Oh, yeah.
not the easiest to make. You got to be careful with the amount of or the length of steeping and the temperature when you're steeping the coffee. Hmm.
Right. Wow. There's
Definitely.
coffee, but there's also a big fruit note behind it as well.
Hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, you're right. Fruit note, absolutely. Yeah. Some
The kind of
some
competing aromas. The coffee.
some coffee beers can seem a little bit harsh and scorched. If they didn't steep it, if they steeped it too long or something or too hot. It seems just about right. Okay.
Hmm.
Cheers.
Yeah. It smells like coffee. Yeah. Kampai. Clink,
Mhm.
chink, or whatever.
Ding, dong.
Oh. Hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Wow. Well, that's unusual.
It's unusual. I don't think anybody would call this a stout. Um,
Yeah. It's got a hint of a stout in a way, and I'm not, but it's just a hint of dark character, and
depth,
that's from
depth,
the
and
mostly the
yeah,
coffee and maybe the
yep,
cacao's kicking in.
yeah, depth, and maybe something in the mouthfeel too. Hmm, okay.
Oh,
Interesting.
wow.
Definitely coffee, lightly sweet. Oh, hmm,
I, I think
something.
it's maybe like apricot or tree fruit, kind of,
Okay, okay.
very big, fairly quite sturdy fruit in there.
Uh-huh.
Not tropical, but more
No,
more
no,
like somewhere in the
some fruit.
middle.
Mhm. Yeah,
Hmm.
and it does it. Yeah, it's got a kind of creaminess that's kind of coating the palate, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Something lightly buttery or greasy or something. I don't,
Yeah. Yeah.
would that come from the coffee?
Well,
The cacao?
no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. That's a really good question.
Does chocolate naturally have,
Possible.
does
Well, I
coffee,
don't think it's. the
Go ahead.
chocolate or coffee, I'm guessing maybe, no, that might be a characteristic of the flaked oats, kind of giving a creamy. You think of like, in stouts, you think of an oats, oats are used in stouts.
Right.
And I think it does it not just for the head or the
Mhm.
foam, it gives I think some creaminess to a body and creaminess to it.
Certainly does. I mean, I really feel it. And it's like you ate something with whipped cream in it. Hmm.
Yeah, it is kind of creamy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You get the creaminess, you get the fruit coming on, and then the coffee kind of, shows up.
Mhm.
Um, Interesting. And then those flavors all mix together and blend.
They do.
It's
They
really
do.
unusual. I've
Yeah.
never had anything quite like this.
No, no, this is quite unusual. Yeah. Body seems a bit light. I guess if we're saying golden stout, we can't really compare it to what we normally think of as a stout for sure.
Right.
Well, yeah, this is quite unusual. Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
for me, I think probably
Yeah.
one is enough.
Um,
I would give it a kind of half a thumb up, actually.
yeah. Yeah, I give it at least, yeah, maybe three-quarters of a
Three
thumb.
quarter thumb.
I don't mind it. It's interesting. It's
I don't
almost
mind it
like
either.
a dessert beer or a light dessert. It's not overly sweet.
Yeah.
But it's got a little bit of sweetness and body. It's got the body. Yeah,
Hmm.
after you'd probably want to do this somewhere in the middle or later in your tasting lineup if you're doing a whole bunch of beers in a row.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't start with this, is what I would say.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. 6%, only 10 international bittering units. So
Mm,
basically the coffee is kind of taking over or coffee and chocolate taking over for the hops in this one.
yeah. Mm. Yeah, the malts are, yeah, very fruity, nice kind of fruity malt.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Willamette, Merkur.
A little bit of hop. I got on the back end, a little bit of hop there.
Yeah. Quite unusual. So
Uh, Unique.
it is fruity. It does have coffee for sure. Chocolate is not quite apparent to me.
Mm.
It does have this interesting creaminess,
Maybe it's coming out.
maybe a little warmth.
Yeah, on the nose, I think I get a little bit of chocolate, but then coffee and chocolate are fairly close to each other, so it's kind of hard you
Yeah,
can't really dissect the two. At least I can't.
it blended quite well overall.
Yeah, maybe I get it. Okay.
Yeah, very nice overall. Yeah, again,
Yeah,
I'm kind of conflicted here. I appreciate the flavors, but it doesn't do
a little.
that much for me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely not a light, refreshing beer.
No, it's not.
Um, it's not over the top sweet or heavy either. Um, I'd say, if you find one, give it a try. I'd
Sure.
say it's really different. It's something if you wanted to completely change up your palate, you want
Yeah,
to break from some hoppy beers, maybe this would kind of like, yeah, in the middle of
absolutely.
a bunch of hoppy beers, you want to clean your palate or something, change it up.
Yeah. Yeah, again, this is a kind of a unique experience for sure. It's
Hmm.
not like any
Yeah.
stout you will ever have for sure. It's not like any beer you will have probably. I think
Yeah,
it is its own self.
no, this is my first golden stout. So, I mean, I'll have to have more before I can say anything about how it fits in
Of
the
course, yeah.
category. So,
Yeah, and again, it's not a common
and
style,
I know
so
it's not an official category, as you
no.
say.
Yeah, there's a lot of beers like that these
Yeah.
days I mean, the Brewers Association and they're kind of behind the curve, and the brewers are out doing all kinds of things that they can't really
Usually, yes.
classify yet. So Yeah. Okay. Again, this is called
Yeah, too much
Kyoto.
innovation going on here.
What's that? Say again?
Too much innovation's going on.
Too much innovation.
Too much
Get back
innovation.
to make beer great again, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Again, this is called
Yeah, there
Nara
you go.
Brewing plus Kyoto Brewing plus COYOTE coffee from Kyoto, and in a beer called Both Hands, and it is a golden stout with chocolate and cacao nibs and wheat and oats and lots of
Hmm.
stuff. So go out and try this one if you happen to see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you very much, Al.
Yeah, if you see it, yeah, yeah, thank you. And I just, if you're watching this, if you've ever had a golden stout, tell us below. I'd be curious to learn more about those.
Absolutely.
So let us
Yeah,
know.
we'd like to hear from you about that. And please do subscribe to the channel. Y'all take care, stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.